Hello and welcome to my channel, where I explore the most fascinating and tragic events in history. Today, I'm going to tell you about the 1970 Huascarán debris avalanche, the deadliest avalanche or glacier-related disaster in history, that killed up to 30,000 people in Peru. What happened? On May 31, 1970, a massive earthquake struck off the coast of Peru, measuring 7.9 on the Richter scale. The quake shook the entire country, causing widespread damage and casualties. But the worst was yet to come. The earthquake triggered a huge landslide on Mount Huascarán, the highest mountain in Peru and the fourth highest in the Western Hemisphere. A wall of ice and rock, estimated to be half a cubic kilometer in volume, broke off from the north peak of the mountain and raced down the slope at speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour, 186 miles per hour. The landslide turned into a mudflow as it picked up soil, water and debris along the way. It swept away everything in its path, including trees, houses, cars and people. It reached the town of Yungay, about 15 kilometers, 9 miles, away from the mountain, in less than 4 minutes. Yungay was a bustling town of about 20,000 inhabitants, located in a fertile valley at the foot of Huascarán. It was a Sunday afternoon, and many people were out in the streets or attending Mass at the church. They had no time to react or escape as the mudflow engulfed the town, burying it under 10 to 15 meters, 33 to 49 feet, of mud and debris. Only a few hundred people survived by climbing to higher ground or seeking refuge in the town's cemetery or stadium. The mudflow continued its destructive course, wiping out several other villages and towns along the Rio Santa Valley. It reached the Pacific Ocean, about 160 kilometers, 100 miles, away from Huascarán, leaving a trail of devastation behind it. The total death toll from the earthquake and the landslide was estimated at 70,000 people, making it one of the worst natural disasters in Peru's history. Why did it happen? Mount Huascarán is part of the Cordillera Blanca, a mountain range that forms part of the Andes. The Cordillera Blanca is home to more than 700 glaciers, which cover about 10% of its area. These glaciers are sensitive to changes in temperature and precipitation, and are prone to collapse or retreat due to global warming or seismic activity. The north peak of Huascarán had been considered unstable since 1962. When a smaller landslide killed about 4,000 people in nearby Ranrajerca. The glacier and snowmass on top of the peak had cracks and crevasses that made it vulnerable to collapse. The 1970 earthquake was strong enough to dislodge a large portion of it, creating a catastrophic avalanche that exceeded all expectations. The location and timing of the disaster also contributed to its severity. Yungay was situated in a narrow valley that offered little protection from the mudflow. The town was built on an ancient lake bed that had been filled with sediment over time, making it susceptible to liquefaction during an earthquake. The quake occurred on a Sunday afternoon, when most people were out of their homes or gathered in public places that were easily destroyed by the mudflow. What were the consequences? The 1970 Huascarán debris avalanche left a lasting impact on Peru's society, economy and environment. The disaster wiped out entire communities and cultures, leaving thousands of orphans and widows behind. Many survivors suffered from physical and psychological trauma, as well as diseases and malnutrition. The disaster also damaged Peru's infrastructure and agriculture, disrupting vital services such as water supply, electricity, transportation and communication. The mudflow destroyed fertile lands and crops along the Rio Santa Valley, affecting food security and livelihoods for many people. The disaster also affected Peru's natural resources and biodiversity, altering the landscape and ecosystem of the Cordillera Blanca. The mudflow eroded soil and vegetation, creating erosion gullies and sediment deposits that changed the hydrology and geomorphology of the region. The mudflow also carried pollutants such as pesticides, fertilizers and metals that contaminated water sources and aquatic life. How did people cope? The 1970 Huascarán debris avalanche prompted a massive humanitarian response from both national and international organizations. The Peruvian government declared a state of emergency and mobilized its armed forces to assist with rescue and relief operations. The government also received aid and support from many countries such as the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Japan, and the Soviet Union, as well as from the United Nations and other agencies. The disaster also inspired solidarity and resilience among the survivors and the affected communities. Many people organized themselves into committees and cooperatives to rebuild their homes, schools, hospitals, and businesses. Some survivors also formed cultural and artistic groups to preserve and promote their traditions and identity. The disaster also led to changes in Peru's disaster management and risk reduction policies and practices. The government established new institutions and regulations to monitor and prevent natural hazards, such as the National Institute of Civil Defense, INDECI, and the National System of Disaster Prevention and Response, SINAPRED. The government also implemented plans and projects to relocate, rehabilitate and reconstruct the affected areas, such as the new Yungay project, which moved the provincial capital from Yungay to a safer location at Tingua. What can we learn? The 1970 Huascarán debris avalanche was a tragic event that taught us many lessons about the power and unpredictability of nature, as well as the vulnerability and resilience of human beings. It showed us the importance of understanding and respecting our environment, as well as the need for preparedness and prevention in the face of natural disasters. It also showed us the value of solidarity and cooperation among people and nations, as well as the role of culture and memory in healing and recovery. It reminded us that life is precious and fragile, but also strong and hopeful. The 1970 Huascarán debris avalanche is a story of loss and grief, but also of survival and hope. It is a story that deserves to be remembered and honored by all. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more historical content. And don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions about this topic. See you next time.